Good morning. It is the first week of 2024, and it is election season. I don't know if that's election season or election year. Anyways, it's semantics. But um, I've been looking forward to this year for the past 4 or 5 months now. Um, when I started getting re-engaged in the national conversations about politics, because really I kind of went underground, where I unplugged from people. Like when I film in the middle of like some just like nonsense, and I I pull away and I look elsewhere. Um, so I came back, and it's wild seeing the state of discourse right now, um, because you're not being told the truth right now. Like surprise, surprise, you're not. We're not dealing with the heart of the matters. Okay, so first and foremost, this race is shaping up to be Trump versus Biden. And from what I can tell, there is very little support for either of those candidates. Um, it's a little bit trickier on the Republican side because Trump does have genuine grassroots support, but not all his support are Republicans. They might be right leaning, but they're not Republicans. I would say traditional Republicans do not want Trump to be back, but they would take Trump over Biden, so they're going to vote for Trump. Because at the very least, Trump will push through policies that benefit them. Okay. I'm not saying those policies are good or bad. I'm just saying for the people who want those policies, Trump will actually deliver on those policies. Biden has a little bit of a different problem, to where Biden still has unwavering support from a significant portion of his base. You look around, you can really see it in the media. They are rallying around him and trying to defend and deflect anything, so no one can really talk about what's actually going on. And the conversation has really been about, for the past 2 years, has been about the economy. Economy. And it makes sense coming out of a pandemic. Everyone's finances got skewed and wonky. And actually, quiet as kept, the pandemic, I think it hurt the Democrats the most because, one, the Republicans won the PR battle. Even though the lockdown started under Trump, they have successfully shifted the public blame onto the Democrats for the lockdowns. I don't really know if you can really even dispute that. You poll average American who feels some way about COVID or the pandemic, their anger goes more towards the controls rather than the lack of controls or the actions that Trump took or deliberately didn't take that could have contained this thing earlier, right? I was one of those people who was very upset with his handling of COVID. I thought he undermined the process. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I don't think that my opinion is really the majority opinion. The average opinion is that I can see, and this is anecdotal, that I can see, and I read a lot online. I like to weave in between groups. So I like to think I have some perspective. Obviously, I don't be in all the groups. I don't see everything, but I just think I have some perspective. It's an easier sell for Trump to pin COVID on the Democrats and Biden than it is for Biden to do it to Trump and the GOP. That's all I'm saying. So we have these two deeply unpopular candidates, and I'm somebody who I didn't want Trump last time. I didn't want Trump either of the times. And I voted against Trump the first time, voted against Trump the second time. So I'm not a Trump person. I'm not a Trump voter. I don't really care about Trump. I'm also not a Democrat. I'm independent. I registered Democrat just so I could vote against Biden in the last primaries. But after I got my vote in, I changed back to independent. Just so you know where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to obfuscate or hide my position. So I've watched this term and I've been deeply unhappy. Biden's position against labor is something that for me is just, it's a red line. I can't go back from that. The second he crossed the line and forced the railroad strike to end, he was done to me. He was done to me. And no amount of after the fact that, oh, well, he came back around, he negotiated in their head, doesn't matter. He used his position to undermine labor power. And anyone who understands what I'm talking about knows that is a red line you cannot come back from. Period. No amount of rhetoric is going to change that, because it's hard for people to believe, but some people actually judge actions. I'll hear you out on the first time around. I'll take you at face value. You can say whatever you want. And I might be, well, I don't know how you're going to do that, but you say you're going to do that. Let's see what you're going to do. But on the second time around, I'm going to hold you accountable for the things you said and the things you didn't do. And you can't squirm out of that stuff. And broadly speaking, Biden really ran last time on anything but Trump. You saw what happened with Trump. How could it be worse under me? That's kind of the bet he was offering people. And sure, let's say I took that bet. Let's say, okay, fine. You know, I don't want Trump. I think Biden's lesser two evils. I need to have Biden because I think Trump's going to destroy the country. And that was my thought process for the most part. And as time has gone by, I believe that was the wrong thought process. Not that I would have voted for Trump, but voting for Biden sent the wrong message. That I'm okay with you feeding me whatever you want if you can just point to garbage over there. And I'm just one person, but it seems like that's been the strategy going around, that it's only a binary choice, and you can either have Trump or this. You choose type deal. And to me, that's not really a choice. Because what's going to change between the two of them? You know, I've seen Biden's America, and I don't like it. It's not going the direction I want it to go. You know, at best, the Democrats are going to offer you preservation of the status quo and a promise to fight back against the GOP from taking the country backwards, whatever that means, right? That's what you get at best. At worst, they compromise and they move slightly farther to the right. And we have seen that. We see that really over the past 20 years, really ever since Clinton, that we've seen this ratcheting effect to where when a Republican's in office, the country moves to the right. A Democrat gets in office, we stop moving to the right, but we don't really move back to the left. And then the next Republican comes in, we go back to the right again. Democrat comes in, holds the line. So we keep ratcheting. We never come back. And that's what I see as a trend. Again, that's like a 20-year trend. And so when I hear the Biden campaign tell me that you are fighting for democracy right now, this is a vote for democracy. You need to understand, this is the third election I have heard that same exact speech. And it worked on me the first time. It worked on me the second time. The third time, I'm a fool. So I'm speaking a lot about myself right now, but I have to set that up because as I start talking about what I'm seeing in the polling and the media, I can't, you have to address it with substance because they're giving you hot air instead. So the economy is a very serious issue for people because that affects their day-to-day lives. Stuff they eat, the fuel that they use to get around, the things they do for entertainment. Like you really can't do anything in this country without money anymore. Everything is just like they're running the bill up on you. And is that a Biden specific problem? It's not. It's not. It's a problem. It's a problem. The question is, who's dealing with that? Is it Biden? No. Is it Trump? No. So where am I left right now? I see a problem in this democracy, in this society, and I would like to address that problem. At least have it be talked about, and because I'm not right all the time. But do we get that? We don't. You get pick A or B. Well, what are their policies? Doesn't matter. Pick A or B. What do I get out of it? Doesn't matter. Pick A or B. And to go one step further, they're only offering you threats. It's not like they're offering you honey. They're saying your options are get the stick or get nothing. I'm going to say that again. Your options right now are get the stick coming from the Democrats. That means Trump, or we'll give you nothing. And then they act smug when you're like, well, what am I getting out of that? And they're just kind of like, you're not getting hit with a stick. It's crazy to me. But then when you listen to the media, and they're talking about it, for the past few months they've been downplaying it because Biden's support has been dropping. And it's easy for any side to dismiss dropping support as, oh, those are just people who were never with them in the first place, who were never going to vote for him, don't like him, they never liked him in the first place, so those polls aren't real, right? You can say that at first. But then when you look at the numbers, they keep going the wrong direction for Mr. Biden. And they keep saying, oh, it's early. Oh, it doesn't mean anything. And then they don't want to talk about the conflict that's happening next to Israel. And because his support of that has been deeply unpopular. And they are the media is doing everything they can to avoid that subject. The closest thing you'll get now is they'll say that Americans are concerned about foreign policy for the first time. What foreign policy are they concerned about? They can't say that. So they have to keep massaging these numbers and acting like it's not an issue that they're not hearing from the people right now. That's what it is. The people are telling them loud and clear, we don't support what's happening. We don't want to fund this anymore. And the Biden campaign the administration has turned their ears off to that. And it can't be more damaging when you start to realize the charges that people have against Biden, they're not baseless. He ran on student loan debt cancellation. That has not happened. You'll hear people make some arguments that nibbled around the edges, but the substance of what he promised did not happen. It's the equivalent of Trump's border wall. Yes, a wall did go up. But was it the wall that he sold to the minds of the voters? It was not. Was the student cancellation that he sold to his voters what he gave them? It was not. And you can say that it was, but the polls are telling you that it wasn't. And that's the crazy thing. The pundits are telling you that's not the case. And it is. The numbers are telling them these things. When the war really kicked off overseas, and we're sending more bombs, and the death toll is rising, the innocent women and children are they're dying by it's over 20,000 now. Biden's support collapsed after that. It was unmistakable. It collapsed. And you still have the mainstream media talking around that. Well, what message could they change that'll get people back on board? Messaging. And they're not realizing that the people aren't watching that news right now. They're watching social media. They're watching bombs drop. They're watching bodies being pulled out of the rubble. Like, these are visceral things people are seeing. The media won't show them to you because I understand you can't show images on TV. I'm not saying you should. But the point is, the people getting their news know that now. They're not going there. You're not having the influence that you think you are. You're trying to gaslight, but the people you're gaslighting aren't listening to you. It's only your voters who are in the choir who are being gaslit, thinking everything's great. And it's not. So they can't touch really what's happening with his poll numbers regarding Israel, because you can't open that can of worms. Once you acknowledge, you hear the will of the people, you either have to respond or go against it. Right now, he's going against it clearly. And you can't argue against that, because on stuff like student loan debt, what is he telling you? What is his campaign telling you about, well, why that has to happen according to plan? It's Congress. It's the Supreme Court. He doesn't have the votes. But then something like sending more arms, over 10 billion overseas, and he had no votes for it. What did he do? He went around Congress. So he's showing people a concrete example that if he wants to fight for something, he can. Which forces the next question. Well, why isn't he? And he won't answer that question. None of them will answer the question. They'll talk around it. So now we're in election season. And you heard over the last month, their best hand-waving tactic was to say, well, this isn't really election year yet, and these are just people's opinions. When the actual gets down to the polls, the truth will come out. So we think that next year, during election season, when the rubber meets the road, people will come back around to Biden. Well, we're here, 2024 election year, and the polling is getting worse. So now they have to deal with it. So now the current tactic now is they're trying to break things apart so you can't connect the dots. So, okay, well, what we're seeing for numbers right now is that the Americans are really concerned about the economy. They're really concerned about the economy right now, which has actually been very good under Biden. They just don't realize it. So we need to change the messaging about the economy. There's a kernel of truth to that, but it's mostly a lie. not well, a lie maybe is stuff, but it's intentionally misleading. Because it's the same tactic that Trump ran with, that the Democrats called out in real time, but now they're using the same thing. And that the metrics they're using for the economy are technically true, but they don't demonstrate how that benefits the everyday American. There's an assumption that a soaring high stock market is good for all Americans. There's an assumption that the GDP is a reflection of the health of an economy. That shows the output of that economy. It does not show who is benefiting from that output. Again, it's implied and it's assumed that we all know that, hey, it benefits everybody. But does it? And so the thing that's interesting is you'll hear people concerned about the economy. They're concerned about healthcare. Now they're concerned about foreign policy. And you say, well, those are all different things. But if you listen to the actual people, listen to what they're saying, it's all connected. It's hard to sell people that you don't have the money for programs that help people here domestically while shipping money out overseas. There's a connection right there. You can't tell people it's a zero-sum game. There's only so much money to go around. We don't have the money. And then somehow you find ways to give the money elsewhere. And add one more layer on top of that, it's giving that money away without the public's input or going around Congress. So they're trying to make these things like they're just different. Well, here's the top 5 things that they're concerned about, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And everything they list is still in the economy bucket. Healthcare. What are we actually talking about? The cost of the healthcare. Don't tell me about access to healthcare or stuff like Obamacare, which doesn't really help the average American. It caps your losses. It's like it's insurance, so it caps your losses. So if you get hurt, you're not going to lose your house. But the premiums you pay just to have that protection are crippling. And they're not required. They don't actually benefit society. It's just for profit for the insurance company. And so the Democrats are selling you, and this is a good thing. We got you guys access to health care, and it's not affordable. And they don't want to address that. So they'll talk around it. But that's the economy. Foreign policy. It's in the context of the economy. And stuff like that. I don't want to hear you talk, or I don't hear your words. Show me your actions. Get our troops out of there. Get our bases out of there. But I'm sure my personal politics now, but it's amazing to me to see this messaging right now of this is a fight for democracy. This is the most important thing ever. And the best thing that they can do is just say that and not offer anything positive. I really want you to find positive praise and defense for Biden that makes no reference to Trump? It's possible you can't. Anytime you engage in anything you feel about Biden, it's an instant deflection to what about Trump? Well, will Trump be worse than that? Maybe he isn't. I'm here to talk about Biden right now because he's the guy in charge. But it's so hard to have a conversation about Biden with people. They would have everything and anything else, but talk about what he's actually doing. And that's the other part they're not really acknowledging. That last campaign cycle, you could do anything but Trump because people couldn't see the counterfactual. They never saw the Biden administration. They have now. You can't play that card. It's switched. Now Trump could say, see what happened when I wasn't the president? It's an equally absurd argument, but people respond to that stuff. And they don't respond to Biden saying, well, it could be worse. And it's like, no, they've seen it now. They've seen both now. And what's really working against Biden right now, and it's so ironic because of who the Democrats claim they are and who they want to be. But during the pandemic, Americans actually saw what a social safety net looked like. During the pandemic, we eradicated child hunger. School lunches in public school were free. And not even that, they were sending food home with the kids. People were getting stimmy checks. People were getting paid to sit home. And they were getting paid more when they got paid in their job. And the right tried to make this seem like it's an absurdity. Why are they getting paid more to sit at home? But people connected to the doctor said, wait a minute. How can they afford to pay me more to sit at home than when it's actually working? It showed them the opposite of what they wanted them to see. There is the money there. You're choosing to underpay. So they got the stimmy checks. They got basically unemployment, beefed up unemployment. Businesses got PPE loans to, stabilize their books, make payroll. That cleaned a lot of people up. There are a lot of businesses that are upside down, and that was a lifeline that got them out. You had the child tax credits. Are these things that I attribute to Trump wanting to give to people? No, I don't. I don't give him credit for those things. But I also can't say they didn't happen. And I didn't benefit from those. And I didn't feel those benefits. Because the average American did feel those benefits. Student debt cancellation. It's not the student loan pause. Happened under Trump. So I think he did these things cynically because he's trying to get people on his side temporarily, but that's kind of the game. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Why doesn't Biden do that? And that's the other part that is unfortunate and inconvenient for Biden is the fact that those things went away under him. And again, this is a more complex conversation. I'm not actually saying that's Biden's fault for that's happening. But he's the one in charge, and he's the one who's bears responsibility. The average voter knows that my life has gotten worse because I've lost these things. Not only have I lost these benefits, but the inflation kept going. Gas has came down a little bit and stabilized, But it didn't matter that squeeze. People felt that last year in 2022. You felt that. The stimmies, the child tax credits, all that stuff faded away as the prices stayed up, inched higher, inched higher, inched higher. And now those things are gone, and people are realizing that they're back to this harsh reality again. And that happened under Biden. And no amount of saying the economy's good now, it doesn't matter. The feeling didn't translate. So why doesn't Biden offer those things again? To me, the answer is obvious. But that's where we're at. Right now, I'm being offered the stick or nothing. And I'm asking for more than nothing if you want my vote. And I'm in with this. Because I see this online, it's dominating the discourse right now, especially if you're talking with liberals. A non-vote is a vote for Donald Trump, is what they'll tell you. A third-party vote is a vote for Donald Trump, is what they're telling you. I reject that. Because it forces you to make the assumption that things will actually get better under Trump, under Biden than they are for Trump. That hasn't been demonstrated yet, not to me. I also know that I don't live in this 4-year cycle. When I peel back and I see that ratcheting effect, I see an issue. I see a trend that needs to stop. So don't tell me for the third cycle in a row that this is the deal. When I saw where that's taken us, I've seen where we've headed and where we're at right now. So why would I keep doing that? Not voting is a vote. It is a vote against the choices you have gave me. And the last thing that the media is not telling you right now, because they keep trying to get you in this binary choice. Oh, if you don't like Biden, if you can't plug your nose up to vote for Biden, you're going to get Trump. Biden's support is collapsing, and it's not going to Trump. That is a clear signal. It's not about this binary choice. The people do not want Biden. A generic Democrat beats Trump. But Biden versus Trump, Biden loses right now in the polls. This stuff has been known for months now. But they refuse to break from Biden. You are going to have Biden and you're going to like it. And if he doesn't win, it's your fault. It's insane to put it all on you. And the only reason I believe that they have to hold this line is because you can't acknowledge the will of the people. Because the second you do that, you are accountable to that. So they have to keep pretending they don't hear that. That's not really what the polls are saying. That when we come down to it, this is what they're saying. They're still saying this to this day. That they're anonymous Biden staffers on his campaign are acknowledging the concern But when they're pushed to, well, what's the plan to address that? They're saying that the belief in the Democrats is that as we get close to election season, that people will be forced to come to the polls and vote against Trump. They're going, as of right now, they're going all in on hope that that happens. That eventually people will capitulate and vote for one of the two candidates. And in their minds, Biden's the only option. Well, I'm just one vote. That's not going to do it for me. I need a reason to vote for you. What do I get out of it? And if the answer is nothing, then my hands are in my pocket. If you want my vote to defeat Trump, you have to give me something. Because defeating Trump does nothing for me. I don't want Trump. I don't want Biden. And the America I see as both of them, I don't want that. It's not good for me. That's not a carrot that I'm gonna vote for. So I'm good. In actuality, I don't actually lose anything. I've already lost. You claim you're trying to win. And your current strategy does not look like that. It's going the wrong direction. Anyways, had to get those off. It's about to be a crazy year. Yeah. Happy Friday.